Not to be able to get y'all as hyped up as my good friend Feeny just did. Shout out to her. But yeah, my name is Saba Tshibaka. I'm coming representing UMD students, students in general, and and I'm talking about housing justice in Maryland. And so, really, just to give a brief overview, it's a huge situation that UMD students have been in between Medco, which are the people that basically hold the lease, and the university. There's a public-private partnership, and it's really unfortunate because it's absolute fascism, and they aren't helping the students that need help most. A lot of students have asked for help, and the most updated notes on the case, I guess, are that they passed an agreement. They have an agreement, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, exactly what the terms of the agreement are, because everyone should know, because this is what we pay in our taxes, and since some of our taxes goes to education in the University of Maryland, this is what we're paying for. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start into it. The hub began in mid-July when Medco illegally changed the terms of leases of over 3,000 students, forcing us all to accept risk from death or illness from COVID-19 and leaving us financially responsible for these broken leases. Students were recently kicked out of these apartments, forced to find emergency housing, or return home in March. As the school year approached, this is March of 2020. As the school year approached, college students across the country wondered if it would be safe to go back to school in the fall. Would their classes be in person? Would they be allowed on campus? These questions filled the inbox of the University of Maryland officials as the school year approached, but one question in particular remained unanswered. A lot of them were unanswered, by the way, but one particularly remained unanswered before August 1st. Would the Maryland Economic Development Corporation release students of their obligation to the leases that were wrongfully changed by the company itself? For months, we charged, protesting online and in person, through Twitter storms, car caravans, and press releases. Hopes were raised and quickly shot down, over and over again. UMD repeatedly shunned us and refused to meet with us. We pushed our legislators, university officials, and Medco to come to their senses and create a reasonable solution for the students taking the brunt of their selfish actions. Finally, on December 18th of 2020, we were met with an agreement. Except this light at the end of the tunnel, of the 6-month-long tunnel, was tainted with self-praise, self-interest, and absolute negligence to the students affected. Terps tuned into a public hearing between state delegates and the University of Maryland and Medco, only to be witness to shameful elbow rubbing and talk of retirement. Bob Brennan, executive director of the corporation, congratulated President Pines on their remarkable support of their pandemics over support of students over a pandemic. Wait a second. UMD denied any and all involvement in the support of students trapped in their broken leases for 5 months. 5 months they ignored students. Hold on, there's more. As officials chatted over their children and grandchildren attending the university daycare, Mr. Brennan smugly stated that his interest in the students' well-being was that someday they would pay for his retirement. That was his comments. Let's break down this statement real quick. The safety of students whose families cannot afford to pay the rent of their broken contract, and the students who will not accept the risk, because this is the wording that they put in the leases once they amended it. They will not accept the risk of death due to COVID-19. That's a quote from the legally updated lease. We're expected to pay for a corporate executive's retirement by paying for an empty apartment room, most students. What the heck? When the hearing ended, we were promised a signed agreement by the end of the week, but when the time came, the lawyer, Leonard Lucci, representing the student group UMD Tenants, which I can find on Instagram at UMD Tenants, was refused access to the already signed agreement. So UMD and Medco already signed an agreement and didn't give it to the main lawyer that's been working on the case on behalf of the students. And we didn't even get the agreement until the lawyer asked the delegates who have been supporting the UMD Tenants group for the agreement. It's just crazy. It's really just embarrassing. They finally caught it up. This agreement, however, leaves out 30% of the students in the group and still leaves those covered under the agreement responsible for 7 out of 12 months of the lease.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Now UMD and Medco are applauding themselves while students are struggling to figure out how they'll pay up to $1,000 per month for empty rooms. This failure is an example of what many of Maryland's public-private partnerships have resulted in during this global pandemic. Public entities cower in the power of private organizations that have been roped into these predatory agreements, leaving the public citizens vulnerable and injured. We need our legislators to demand that Medco and UMD come up with a fair agreement that actually helps the people and not just their own deep pockets. Bring security to these families instead of shunning and exploiting the very students that they say they protect. We need this to end for Maryland. Thank y'all.
Yes.